Hey guys, it's Shannon. First things first, if you're someone who regularly watches my channel, just thank you so much. My last video was really hard, and you guys just swarmed me with love and encouragement and prayers, and I just want to say a big fat thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you haven't watched that video yet, or if you're new to this channel and this is your first one, first of all, welcome. That last video was a play-by-play of my previous year. One of the hardest things being the passing of my father. So about a month and a half ago, my father died very suddenly of a heart attack. And it's kind of shaken my family, but it also made me realize how lucky I was to be raised by such an incredible person. And so one of the ways that I think it would be really cool to kind of like honor his memory is to share with you guys some of the life advice that he gave me over the years. Now, this is not like he sat down and was like, Shannon, let me tell you the advice that you will live your life by. Most of these things aren't things he explicitly said, just things that he modeled to me. My dad was a wonderful Christian man, and he wasn't someone that just spoke out his Christian beliefs. He was someone who lived them out every single day. And so I was just sitting around and thinking and reflecting about what my dad had taught me over the years. And I think it'd be really cool to kind of like let his legacy live on by sharing with you guys some of the things that my dad taught me over the years. As far as I know, my dad didn't even know that I had a YouTube channel, although he sort of accidentally helped him name it. Fun fact, my dad didn't swear, like, at all. Like, he used zero curse words. Like, I've never heard him use a curse word in his life. But one of these, like, substitute swear words that he used a lot when someone was very irritating, when someone was rude, instead of calling them a swear word, the word he would use was punk. So if someone was rude or cut him off in traffic, or if my sister and I were being unruly children, my dad would use the word punk. That person's being a punk. And so when I was trying to come up with an idea for my YouTube channel, I wanted a sort of an oxymoron, a name that meant basically a rebellious or a bad person that is luckily saved by God. That's kind of the vibe I was going for. So as I was going through names, I thought of the word that my dad would use for criminal, rebel, or insert swear word of choice. He would call them punks. And so the reason my YouTube channel is called Sanctified Punk is because it's like a bad person, a rude person that is being made new. And that's kind of what I identify as someone who is, you know, I'm not by the world standard this super duper rebellious person. But to my dad, when I was being ornery or rude or rebellious, I was a little punk. And so that's where the name comes from. Anyway, that's a big tangent. But yeah, a part of my dad's wisdom is going to live on through this YouTube channel that he sort of accidentally named. And I think that would be kind of a nice way to share him with you guys who are so special to me. So here are 3 life lessons from my dad. Number 1 is do not overcomplicate your life. One of the verses that I had suggested that we read at my dad's funeral was Micah 6:8. He has shown you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Do justice, love mercy, walk humbly with God. Those are the 3 things that God is requiring of us. You know, a lot of people will debate about like, what is the meaning of life, or how should you live your life? Christians need to live this way or that way, or they all need to be moving overseas and serving on mission trips, or they need to be doing this type of ministry or that type of ministry. The truth is the Christian life can look like a lot of different things because God calls people to a lot of different things. But if we think about these 3 requirements that God gives us, it's pretty simple. Number 1, do justice. That's basically do the right thing. Make sure that things are fair. Number 2, love mercy. Treat people with kindness and compassion. be more forgiving than people deserve. And 3, walk humbly with God. Don't have an ego. Live your life. Be a righteous, godly person and follow God. My dad did those 3 things. He was not a perfect man by any means. We butted heads a lot. But he understood those 3 things. He was kind of a simple guy. Not to say that he was not intelligent or anything, but he didn't overcomplicate things. He was very low drama. He did what he believed to be right. He was kind to people and read his Bible every night, went to bed, happy man. When he was tired, he would watch TV or go on a walk. Sometimes I would frustrate him because I'm a very emotional, complicated person. I like to read the news. I like to read about politics. I like to hash things out and really dive into nuances. My dad didn't have a lot of gray. He had black and white. He's a black and white thinker. There are some disadvantages to that, but one of the beautiful things about his black and white thinking was there was just good and bad, and he did good and tried not to do bad, and he sought God. He was a pretty good dude. He would come home from work, hang out with his family, watch some TV reruns, eat some dinner, read his Bible, go to bed. On the weekends, he would hike and go on adventures, and that was his life. He was a police officer and a really good, kind one, and that was it. He never had a desire for fame, wealth. He had a lot of joy in his family and his job, and didn't ask for much else. Something that's beautiful about the fact that he didn't overcomplicate his life was when he died, I can honestly say, I don't think he had any regrets. I don't think he would do any moments of his life over, as far as I know. There's something beautiful about just getting a job you love, working really hard, not trying to climb the ranks or anything, but just doing your job and then coming home and being good to your family. Number 2, if you exercise and you talk to God, most of your mental health stuff is taken care of. This is one that I clashed with my dad with about a lot. I really believe in therapy, like talk therapy and going to like a professional counselor. My dad wasn't super into that, and he did go to therapy because police officers who are in shootings or in traumatic situations have to go to counseling. That's like legally required. So he's been to counseling. But he truly believed that you could fix almost any mental health problem with exercise and with talking to God. Now, I still believe that therapy is like very important and very valuable, but there's a lot of wisdom in exercising and talking to God. The mind and the body and the soul are all connected. And according to the Bible, they're all important. And I will say, as someone who has had mental health struggles, even the past year, he's kind of right about a lot of it. Endorphins help a lot. So if you are in a funk, depressed or anxious, going for a walk, going for a jog, being outside in the sunshine and getting exercise helps a lot. It really does. And also the overlap between the spiritual and the mental, I think is pretty big. You know, I do think they're separate things, but I think the overlap is pretty huge. Spending time seeking God is good for your mind as well as your soul. You know, this past year when I was having my mental health struggles, I will say 99% of it cleared up when I started exercising, being out in the sun, and being very, very intentional about my relationship with God. And while I believe that, you know, psychology is so, so, so important, like I literally married someone that was their field of study, getting some exercise and some sunshine and going and talking to God really, really shouldn't be overlooked. I think there was some beautiful wisdom in my dad's belief in that. I still disagree with him about therapy, but he was right that it really helps. And in everything, we should talk to God. Because even if the mental health struggle is still there, having your spirit healthy, being in right relationship with God is going to not only improve every single aspect of your life, and is literally what you're designed to do, but it will better equip you for dealing with your mental health battles. Number 3 might be a little controversial, so hear me out before you click on a different video or you give this a thumbs down, okay? You can love and respect a person without affirming their lifestyle. So this is how my dad lived this out, because this is one of those life lessons that he didn't explicitly say, but it was something that he lived. So like I said, my dad was a police officer, and I know some people probably even recoil with just that. Honestly, if every police officer was like my dad, we would not have the law enforcement issue that we do in this country, because of how he treated people. So I didn't know the extent that my dad did this until my dad's memorial a couple of weeks ago. But all of his work buddies said that what he would do is he would go and catch a bad guy, as in he would go and make an arrest, put the person in the back of his squad car, and then talk to them like they were his friend. Which I always knew he was a nice person, but I wish I knew that about him while he was alive, because it's such a cute personality trait. So he would put people in the back of his squad car and talk to them as if he were their friend. And, you know, if you get arrested, most of the time it's because you've committed a crime. Most of the time. And if you aren't guilty of committing a crime, usually it's because you've gotten yourself into a sticky situation. And my dad would talk to these people and very plainly encourage them to turn their lives around. And it sounds like, according to his friends, that it was literally as straightforward and cheesy as, well, you robbed a bank. How'd you get there? Well, you know what you need is Jesus. Because Jesus will save your soul, and you'll realize you don't have to rob banks to make yourself happy. I know that sounds Kirk Cameron level cheesy, but my dad's partner said he would do that. So he started out by talking to these people as if they were people. He would arrest someone and not treat them like they were, a thug or a punk. And he would get to know their story. And he would present the solution to their problems as Jesus. I think one of the greatest lies of our culture is that you're just perfect the way you are. Because nobody's perfect. And it's actually really unloving to want people to stagnate in their life. If you really care about somebody, you will want them to make the healthiest life choices possible so that they can have the healthiest, happiest, most productive life. And the truth is, there are certain lifestyles that aren't good. Like a life of crime. A really good example of Jesus doing this, where he showed love and respect for people but didn't affirm their lifestyle, was the woman caught in adultery. It's one of my favorite stories of Jesus's life of all time. And if you're unfamiliar, these Pharisees bring this adulterous woman to Jesus. And in the Old Testament, if a couple was caught in adultery, you would bring them both out into the city square and they would be stoned. Pretty intense. So they found just this woman. We don't know exactly why. It's just her. And they tell Jesus, this woman was caught in adultery. Should we stone her according to the law? And Jesus says, whoever is without sin can throw the first stone. So of course he calls them out for being sinners themselves. And he says, hey, don't stone that woman. And then when she realizes the mercy that she's been given by Jesus, he says something to her. And I think this verse kind of undoes that whole, you do you, like live your best life, live your truth kind of mentality. It's because Jesus says this. He says, do they condemn you? Look around, like, where are the people that condemn you? She says, they're gone. He says, no, they don't condemn you. Neither do I. Go and sin no more. He loves her. He affirms her. He shows her mercy. But then he says, go and change your life. And that's the most loving thing he could do, because living in an adulterous affair is not what we were designed to do. If we love someone, we should want what's best for them. And what's best for every single person in the world is to follow God. My dad was so funny because he lived this very, what's a nicer way to say prude? My dad lived a very conservative life. He never took a sip of alcohol. He never said a swear word, at least in front of me. He only really had one girlfriend, which was my mom. And he could talk to and relate to some very bad people. And he didn't see himself as above them. So that's the 3 little life advice tidbits from my dad. He was wonderful and I miss him a lot. My dad was not perfect and we disagreed on a lot. But we agreed on what was important. And what's important is God loves you and he wants a relationship with you. And the only way you can do that is through Jesus. If you watched this entire video, thank you so much. I hope it was encouraging or interesting to you. And I hope it gave you a good perspective on your life. You know, we are only here for a very brief amount of time, I've realized. And the decisions we make each day are very important. Speaking of what's really important, I want to introduce you guys to somebody. And this is my daughter. She's 1 month old. We are so excited to have her as a little part of our family. I would tell you guys her name, but I think it'd be way more fun if we tried to guess. She shares the name with a Christian rock song. So if you guys want to guess my daughter's name in the comments, that is your hint. She shares a name with a Christian rock song. So listen to some Christian rock albums, see if you can find my daughter's name on a Christian rock album. I love you guys so much. Go out into this crazy world and act like Jesus. I will see you next time.